And we're live.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
With your Carl Benson-esque shirt.
It's very pink. Welcome back, guys, to Sunbelt Podcast. This is our second show of the week. But this is the show that we preview the up and coming week, the up and coming games. Guys, you gotta admit, week one maybe put the Sunbelt on some shaky ground. Wouldn't you agree with that, Tibbs?
0-2 against the Mountain West. Maybe Phil Steele was right that the Sunbelt is not the premier G5 this year.
Shane, do you feel a little worried about the Sunbelt?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, you look at the FPI that they put out for ESPN. I just saw this a moment ago. The number 8 and number 9 teams on their list of most likely to go undefeated after seeing what we saw week one would be number 8, James Madison, with a 6.2% chance, ahead of Boise State with I don't remember what it was, but a little less than that. So just based on that, I mean, there's a long ways to go. And I think, you look at last year, nobody thought Conference USA was the best, but they end up with a team that goes undefeated. And so it might not be the best conference that ends up putting a team in that playoff. And I think that's the thing that the Sun Belt's got to look for this year. It's getting into that New Year's Day Bowl or the playoff now. Like, that's the thing. That's the only thing that's holding them back from really being able to have ultimate bragging rights.
Let me tell you something, Shane. There is no week in college football that is more easily forgettable than week one. Week one, nobody will remember by the end of week 2, right? It's over. It's gone. The comeback for the conference starts Saturday, guys. And we're going to examine it all with something that I like to call second and short. You hear the gong, right, guys? Huh? You hear the gong, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Even in my sleep.
Yeah. I'm thinking about incorporating it in my personal life. So that's how much I like the gong. You guys remember how second and short works. I throw out a game. I try to do them in the order of which they will appear on broadcast TV. And I saw a referee between Tibbs and Shane. And we try to keep each bit of analysis down to 2 minutes. We don't always succeed, but we're going to do our best. Guys, are you ready for week 2 of second and short?
Always.
All right. Saturday, September 7th is the date. And at 11 a.m., we only have one morning game, and that's Troy Trojans at Memphis, 11 a.m., ESPNU. The Tigers are an 18-point favorite in that. Perhaps Vegas saw what Nevada did and said, wow, Troy's not going to be ready for this game. Meantime, Memphis had sort of a nice, easy row with North Alabama. I don't know if we saw too much from them. We know a little bit more about Troy. Tibbs, how do you feel about this Trojans-Memphis game here?
Troy definitely has a fight on their hands, and it's not going to get any easier considering that Damon Taylor, their star running back from last week that rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown, will not be available in the first half, being ejected late in the game for targeting against Nevada.
Did not know that. How does a running back get in trouble for targeting? Oh, my God.
He tried on the ensuing onside kick to relive the glory days where it was not a skillful transition. It was a run down the field and hit the guy as hard as you possibly can. I think they said in the program, hit him until he has snot bubbles. Well, he did that, but he did it with the crown of his helmet. So I think that's going to be a pretty big hill to try to overcome for the Trojans. I like Memphis in this one, unfortunately, with the Sun Belt starting off 0-1 on the week 2 action.
So Trojans don't help themselves at all with Taylor being out for the first half. Shane, do you see any cracks in this game that Troy can exploit and maybe win it?
I don't know. I'd be surprised if Troy wins. Like, to be honest, the 18.5-point line seems large to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm still thinking Troy defense where it's hard to score 18.5 points at all. But I mean, they did give up 28 last week. Still, I think it'll be closer than that, but I'd be a little bit surprised if they get out of Memphis with a win.
Yeah, I think it's a down year for Troy. But if I'm doing any extracurricular betting, like perhaps on Bet Online, for example, I might choose the Trojans with the points. So a couple hours later, and actually not a couple hours later, like 4 hours later, we don't see any more Sunbelt until 3 o'clock on ESPNU again when the UTSA Roadrunners visit Texas State Bobcats. The Bobcats look good the first half in their FCS game with Lamar. Then Lamar came back that second half and made a game out of it. Meanwhile, I think the Roadrunners didn't have much of a problem with Kennesaw State. Owen McCown, looked pretty good, racking up 340 yards and 3 passing TDs. This looks like a pretty tough matchup, Tibbs. Am I right?
It is. It's going to be a really good game. UTSA able to pull it off last year in the Alamo Dome. Yeah. It was a great environment for that game last year. I think it'll be another great environment this year in the WAC on the campus of Texas State. Viva La Boobcats, man. It's hard to cheer against them after I saw what that offense can do with Jordan McLeod behind center.
We all know Tibbs is very excited about that offense. Jordan McLeod had 230 yards and 3 TDs in a very efficient day against Lamar. Shane, are the Bobcats in trouble in this game, or are they the superior team?
I like the Bobcats in this one. I think they're a little better than the team that let it slip away last year. Bobcat students are rabid inside that stadium. There's likely going to be a trident flying through the air. Or something happening that gets under the skin of the UTSA players. I think it's a tough place to play. I think, like Tibbs said, that offense is better. And I'd imagine maybe even they didn't show everything. We're talking about them squeaking by Lamar. Probably didn't want to show too much and get through that game. I think they're going to be better than they were in week 1. I think they're better than they were last year. And I think I'll be disappointed if Texas State doesn't win this one.
Bobcats are a 2-point favorite in this game. I don't think I mentioned that. All right, about a half an hour later on the CW network. The CW network, guys, is carrying football games. Marshall Thundering Herd is at Virginia Tech. The Hokies, despite being 0-1, despite losing to Vanderbilt, which used to be a badge of shame, they're almost a 20-point favorite here, 19.5. Shane, is that realistic? Is that reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of Virginia Tech after their loss at Vanderbilt, where they got off to a pretty awful start. They come back when they take the lead in that one. I think they're probably going to I think they probably got it won as I drive out of Virginia and out of radio coverage range for that one. I'm expecting them to have won by the time I get to Charlotte, and they didn't. They had some weird things happen where they could have had a field goal, or they gave Vanderbilt a field goal because they had 2 guys with the same number on the field.
Oh, God.
That kept the drive alive. It's just, there's weird stuff about Virginia Tech right now. I don't know what to think. I don't know if Marshall's there to be pulling off the upset quite yet, but I think they could keep it close, at least for a while.
The Herd didn't have much trouble with Stony Brook. They got a couple quarterbacks throwing the ball. Stone Earl and Braylon Braxton both had a couple touchdowns apiece against Stony Brook. Is Marshall primed to kind of maybe have the upset in this game?
I think so. I think that they could do it. I don't see them pulling it off on the scoreboard. I think that they cover the spread. But kind of like Shane said, I just don't think that they're really ready for that primetime upset this year. But with that said, were we really expecting them to go to South Bend and pick up the win that year as well? So maybe Blacksburg, Virginia is just like South Bend, and the Herd come out with a win. I think that they cover, but I don't think that they win it on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think they cover, guys, and I do feel like this is a good chance for a big upset for the Sun Belt. Next game, 5 o'clock. In fact, most of the action takes place around 5 and 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Gardner-Webb Bulldogs. Don't count them out, guys. Gardner-Webb always plays, tough athletics. visits James Madison, 5 p.m., ESPN Plus. There are no odds given. I mean, I guess you could probably find some odds, but it's a FCS versus FBS matchup. Your James Madison Dukes, Shane, are they going to have to sort of a tune-up game here, or will Gardner-Webb bring the slobber?
I'm expecting something of a tune-up game. Gardner-Webb, they couldn't hang on to win their home opener last week against Wofford. Gardner-Webb's been a pretty solid FCS program the last couple of years, but that coach, Trey Lamb, he was just in Boone last week. He went to East Tennessee trying to turn things around there. So it's a little bit different Gardner-Webb program than the one that's given some Sun Belt teams a little bit of trouble over the past couple of years. But yeah, I expect JMU to kind of run away with this one, maybe clean up some of the mistakes they had early in the game last week, and sold out crowd. The 2004 national championship team is going to be there. Like I think JMU will probably win pretty comfortably.
So JMU only had that 9-7 lead at halftime versus Charlotte in week 1. They kind of figured things out in the second half and sort of pulled away. Tibbs, do you think that Alonzo Barnett has recovered from his flop and will do just more damage, pick up where he left off in the second half?
Easily. I think this is the Dukes all day long in the dogfight. But, Shane, you bring up that this is a national championship reunion and a sold-out crowd.
Wow.
Let me tell you about a great sellout crowd that I once attended.
Wow.
1992, one of the greatest college football players ever and one of the greatest in Auburn history, Bo Jackson. They're going to retire the number 34. They're going to honor Vincent Edward Jackson against a horrible, horrible Arkansas team. They don't win the game, Jeremy. They don't lose it. They tie.
Ah, wow. That's almost worse than a loss.
Be careful there, Shane, because they could sneak up on you. I think the Dukes get it done, but just know in the back of your mind, when it's close, that you hear that story.
I don't know. The JMU soccer team is 0-3. I think they're taking all the ties for everybody to conference right now.
Yeah, I'm predicting this is sort of a stressless day for the Dukes. So also at 5 o'clock on the ESPN Plus, our favorite channel of all time, East Carolina Pirates, our old friend, takes on Old Dominion, the weirdest team in the Sun Belt. The Pirates are only a 2.5, well, I'm not going to say only. They are a 2.5 point favorite in this game. You know what, Shane? I don't know. I feel like maybe Old Dominion's being slept on a little bit in this game. What do you think?
I agree. ODU at home is tough. ECU with Mike Houston has been trending the wrong direction the last couple of years. I wasn't impressive last year at all. Maybe they've reloaded in the portal and I wasn't paying attention, but I'm surprised that ECU is the favorite in this one, to be honest. And I think ODU takes care of that one at home.
You know how many turnovers the Pirates committed in week 1?
8. I have no idea.
It's like 8. 6 turnovers. They still managed to win the game. But man, how do you win a game with 6 turnovers? You know that Old Dominion defense must be salivating at the shot of creating more turnovers. What do you think, Tibbs? Is that defense going to step up?
I don't know. It seems like, we always talk about ODU, the weirdest team in the Sun Belt. It's weird that last week was a great defensive performance, maybe a little lackluster of an offensive performance. Maybe this week it's all offense, no defense. I think in any case, Old Dominion, especially with it being at home, is able to pull off the win against the Americans Pirates. But God, I hope so, because I don't know if I can watch another ODU game and live through that heart attack fest. I'm going to need the offensive lineman from James Madison on standby there, Shane.
Yes, to provide with some defribbing. Yes, I think ODU at home is too hard to pass up. I think those guys are going to dish out a win for us. Also at 5 o'clock, also on ESPN Plus, we got the South Alabama Jaguars at the Ohio Bobcats. Jags are only a 1.5 point favorite. Ohio got, kind of did okay against Ohio State for a while. Yeah, made Ohio State work a little bit. South Alabama did not look good against the Mean Green. Allowed a bunch of yards and a bunch of points to Chandler. Chandler Morris. I think he threw for 415 touchdowns, guys. 415 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It was 415 touchdowns also.
That would be crazy. That would be a huge amount of numbers. Big news. The Jags, I know they disappoint you every year, Tibbs. Are they going to disappoint you on this game too?
Not this week because I ain't picking them. I'm going all Viva La Boobcats of the MAC.
Wow.
Ohio.
Okay, because, they play some solid football in the MAC. Shane, are you going all Bobcats on this?
I'm having a hard time picking South Alabama, particularly going on the road. Although last year it was like they alternated between good and bad, and you never knew what was going to happen. I'm going to correct you. Ohio did not play Ohio State last week. They played Syracuse.
They did play Syracuse. You are absolutely
red, orange. He's colorblind, Shane. Why are you making fun of him?
Well, I mean, it's just
Ohio State.
I don't know.
Akron, the Zips. The Zips played Ohio State. Okay. I knew that Ohio State had gone in-state.
Jeremy's just blinded by some action. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to correct that, man. You don't want to get on the MAC's bad side. They will come after you. I think Ohio deepens the Jaguars' dismay, but I just feel like Ohio Bobcats have our number. All right, so about an hour later, we get another FCS matchup. William and Mary, the Tribe, go up against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina, I think we all agreed, played really good in week 1 on that Thursday night game. They get a Tribe team that, I don't know, they kind of took care of VMI on Saturday, which I don't know what that means, if that's good or bad. But Ethan Vasco totaled 3 touchdowns. Shane, is Coastal Carolina just going to kind of, tune up in this game? And I don't know anything about William and Mary. Maybe you do.
William and Mary's a pretty solid FCS program. Mike London, former Virginia coach, is the coach there now. Who I'll throw out the joke. He used to be a cop. That was on every Virginia broadcast for years. Like he was a coach there. No, William and Mary's solid. That's not going to be necessarily an easy one for Coastal, and you don't want it to be a trap game either if you're Coastal. Coming off a big win, the next 2 weeks they've got non-conference games against Temple, who's not great, but it's still an AAC team, and then big home game against Virginia coming up in a couple weeks. You don't want to get caught looking ahead, I think, if you're Coastal against a pretty decent FCS team, but I do think they're going to pull it out and probably win by at least a couple scores.
Tibbs, you saw what Coastal Carolina did. I mean, probably when you're flipping back and forth from Coastal in the ULM game. Do you think Coastal is for real?
They definitely looked the part. Everyone always comments on the Till Field there in Myrtle Beach.
So gross.
I think the other thing that people comment on is it's some kind of shooting gallery or shooting range that is on the PAT nets in the stadium.
Yeah.
They're going to get their money's worth for advertising because that net's going to be up a lot as Coastal Carolina just rolls in this one.
Oh, okay. Coastal goes 2-0. All right. That'll be a good start for Coastal. All right. We're going to go back to some more FCS action with a kind of a well-known FCS brand, the Chattanooga Mocs. They're 0-1. They visit Georgia State Panthers at 6 p.m. on ESPN+. No odds really given. The Mocs, they took on Tennessee to start the season, and Tennessee was not polite. They pretty much destroyed the Mocs. Meanwhile, Del McGee, new head coach for Georgia State Panthers, kind of held their own against the Georgia Tech. Kind of ran away from them at the end of the game, but for 3 quarters, it looked like a pretty solid game. Shane, are the Panthers? The Panthers in the Mocs, it's not going to be an easy game, but do the Panthers have a pretty good shot at winning this game?
I think so. I think they're going to be improved under Del McGee. It might take some time before we start seeing a lot of big wins, but I think they're going to handle Chattanooga. And I think it's going to be one that program, those players really want to win. They want to get that first win for their coach that they decided to play for. They either stuck around or came in to play for this guy. I think, yeah, I'm pretty solid on Georgia State getting a decent win here this week.
Yeah, win one for McGee. Well, is there a chance that that the Panthers, Tibbs, are a little bit hungover after that massive effort against Georgia Tech?
They may be, but one thing that'll get your ass out of bed and awake is a train horn. And we're definitely going to hear the train horn on Saturday as the Panthers roll over the Mocs.
Yeah, my analysis on this, guys, the FCS does not beat the Sun Belt.
Are you allowed to say that?
Sometimes he will help, though.
Sometimes you need some help from friends. All right. Next at 6 p.m. On ESPN Plus, the champagne of broadcast stations, Louisiana Raging Cajuns take on newly anointed CUSA program Kennesaw State. The Owls have already lost to UTSA. I think it was 28-16. Meanwhile, the Cajuns drummed Grambling 40-10 behind a pretty good performance from Ben Woldridge, 308 yards, 3 TDs, and a pick. Louisiana kind of looked for real. I know it was Grambling, but they kind of looked for real, Tibbs.
They did. They looked pretty good on both sides of the ball, and so that was impressive. Kennesaw State, not a very good team, but it's a weird place to play. It's a very small stadium. It's out of the way, out of Atlanta. Yeah, you stay in Atlanta that night and bus up to it.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of adversity, though, trying to get up there. I gotta think that Kennesaw State covers and maybe squeaks out the win. Unfortunately, with the Sun Belt taking a loss to Conference USA in that game.
Oh, we don't want to see that. So, Shane, the Cajuns are favored by 15.5 points. That seems like a lot of points, Shane Metlin.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm sleeping on Kennesaw because they gave UTSA more of a game than I expected. But they're kind of expected to be the worst FBS team in the country, right? I mean, that was kind of the general consensus going into the season.
No, Temple is.
Okay. Yeah, that was ULM. No? Okay.
They're in that conversation. We're having that conversation for a reason. And I don't know. I think Louisiana, I think they got a little momentum after getting that. They're getting the program back on track. I think they can win this one fairly easily by a couple touchdowns at least.
I did like that this week in the weekly press conference, Coach Dez, or his press conference there, Coach Dez at Louisiana Lafayette, he's like, man, we ain't done anything yet to deserve all this. We've been 2 times 6 and 7 teams, so we shouldn't be favored. We shouldn't be anything. And it's sad but true. And I think it's a good humbling approach that he has in there. And I think that's why the Cajuns do have a good chance at it. I just feel like kind of the adversity of being on the road there gives the Owls that quick little nod.
Yeah, I think the Cajuns do win this game, though, but I don't think they cover. All right, at the same time, Georgia Southern Eagles, they take on a familiar foe to the Sun Belt this year, Nevada Wolfpack. Eagles are 0-1, Wolfpack's 1-1. It's at 6 p.m. Central Time on True TV, guys. It's on True TV.
Wait, they show something other than the tournament?
I kind of thought they were almost like a Lifetime channel. Eagles are a 1-point favorite. The Eagles, they put up a lot of points, Shane Metlin. Do they have any defense?
We'll find out.
Okay.
I mean, I think they need to win this one. I mean, Boise State, I think, was the better team than Georgia Southern. I think, Boise State's favored to win the Mountain West for a reason. Georgia Southern, we're not sure about. We kind of look at them as a middle of the pack Sun Belt team, but we need the middle of the pack Sun Belt teams to represent against a team like Nevada. And, even going on the road, that's going to be challenging. You talk about getting to Kennesaw, Reno's the biggest little city in the world, but is that what they call it? Something like that.
Something like that.
it's going to be a little bit of a challenge traveling out there, I think, for Georgia Southern, but I think they should win this one.
Yeah, it's a long way. Yeah, J.C. French had a pretty good, not debut. He played a little last year, but he played pretty well in this last game, threw for a couple touchdowns. One thing that Nevada doesn't have is they don't have Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty? It's Jeanty for the Broncos, who ran for 6 touchdowns. Do the Georgia Southern Eagles bounce back in this one, Tibbs?
I don't think so. I think the Mountain West have the Sun Belt's number right now, and so I think that this is another L for the league. Unfortunately, too, as Phil Steele calls them, the premier G5 conference, the Mountain West.
Ah, well, fine. Yeah, I guess you'll just become big friends with Phil Steele now. I think that the Eagles actually do kind of use superior firepower to overmatch Nevada. I think they can put up the points. I don't know if Nevada can put up the same amount of points as the Broncos could. So I think they do come away with that win. Next at 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus, our favorite station, the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, who used to have like the smallest stadium in the FBS. Maybe Kennesaw State now has the smallest stadium, versus Arkansas State Red Wolves. They're coming to Jonesboro. Yes, the Red Wolves had their hands full with UCA. Yes, they needed a controversial call to cement a victory, but 0-1 is 0-1. Tibbs, do the Red Wolves take this sort of manufactured momentum into a win against Tulsa?
I think so. I think that they can get the win. I think it'll be interesting to see how they play on the road after a close game at home. How do they parlay that? Was it maybe a distraction being at home and they need to be on the road to get the win? Anxious to kind of see how they do it. And I'll be watching it from good old Fun Row this weekend, but hoping that the Red Wolves can move to 2-0 without a controversial call this week.
That would be nice. You know, I kind of feel like the Red Wolves might be a little pissed that they've kind of been their authority, their legitimacy, their authenticity have been put into question. Was that due for their game against Tulsa, Shane Metlin?
You kind of took my I think they're going to be a little bit angry that people should have lost. And I think Tulsa's obviously got a dynamic offense, but I think Arkansas State's probably more talented across the board. I think Jalen Raynor is going to have a big game, and just they're going to like make people sort of forget about what happened week 1 by winning, relatively easy against an American team.
I think it's going to take a thumping, but the Hurricane, the Golden Hurricane, do have freshman quarterback Kirk Francis, who threw for 4 touchdowns. He's just a freshman. Now, it was against a team that forfeit half their games last season. So I really don't know what that competition was like, but we'll have to see. Okay. Our O'Douls maintain your edge game of the week. UAB Blazers at ULM Warhawks, 6 p.m. Central Time, ESPN Plus. The Blazers are a 13-point favorite. But man, I don't think that's taken into account the storyline between the Blazers and new head coach Bryant Vincent. Tibbs, explain, share your knowledge.
They didn't want Bryant Vincent. They went with Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
He went to New Mexico. He now gets to host said school that did not offer him the head coaching job, even with the player support. I think it's 11 or 14 staff members at ULM have ties to UAB, several players, whether they be the scholarship or transfer players from UAB, a lot of Alabama influence from the high school ranks and junior college ranks now on the ULM roster. This is the game. It got torn off the calendar. It was circled so heavily and so much by Bryant Vincent and his entire staff. I don't see where the Warhawks can lose this game. I think it is an absolute shootout and one for the ages. I love the Warhawks, though, late. Maybe it's Max Larson getting that game-winning field goal to push them over the edge.
Yeah, so what's worth? UAB had no problem dismissing Alcorn State on Saturday. What do you think of UAB? They've been a little bit of kind of strange team to watch lately, Shane. Does UAB just sort of take care of the Warhawks, or the Warhawks marshal their hate and win this game for Coach.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game for all the reasons Tibbs listed. And even beyond that, I mean, Tibbs, you tell me if this sounds right, but like ULM, have they had a game this big in a while? I know there's some conference games that are big. You know, you always play some rivals and stuff, but like to have like the opportunity to do this for this staff and to really gain some momentum and have, you know, Brian Vincent talks about wanting to get the community back on board. Winning a game against a name brand, even if UAB is not that good, it's a program people recognize. And I think winning this game would be just absolutely huge for what they're trying to do, rebuilding there. To me, it's like one of the biggest games ULM's played in a long time.
I mean, a couple years ago, Liberty came to town. They were 35-point favorites. Warhawks won and ran away with the game at that.
In the long run, what did that even do for them? I think that winning this game is going to be monumental for ULM if they can do it. I think it'll be looked at as a turning point.
Plus, according to BetOnline, it was 1.5 wins on the season. This gets everybody paid that jumped on board.
Yes, that is true. And the Blazers are a 13-point favorite. That seems a little fat to me. So if you're on BetOnline and you're taking, you might want to think about at least taking those points, if not ULM straight up. All right, then we got like a little bit of a Tibbs, maybe you know these guys. Southeast Louisiana Lions take on
Hammond, America.
All right. Taking on Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Both teams are 0-1, 6 p.m. There's no real odds given. It's on ESPN+. The Lions lost something like 52-0 to Tulane on Saturday. And then the Golden Eagles, of course, they're sort of in the cold tub after receiving a 31-0 thumping in a weather-shortened game against Kentucky, which, from what I understand, they were paid handsomely for, Tibbs. So what kind of game are we going to see here?
I'll tell you, after Will Hall's comments this week on the press conference where it's all about getting the check, you know, you better make sure that you take care of business. Otherwise, Will Hall's going to be getting a check to go on down Highway 61 a little bit further. I think the Eagles can squeak it out, but it might be a little ugly because it was definitely ugly last week against Kentucky. And yes, I know that's an SEC team against a Southland team there in Southeastern, but you still got to have a good showing. Show that you're able to make some reads, some check downs. And we definitely did not see that from Rodmaker. He definitely looks like he's ready to go back to Florida State and possibly be the starter there. So Eagles win, but it's tough and tight.
Yeah, I tell you what about it would be kind of funny if Southern Miss had to take a portion of that winning check from Kentucky and hand it over to the Lions, only to lose to the Lions. I don't think that's going to happen, though. What do you think, Shane? Do you think Will Hall rights this ship at least for a week?
Yeah, I think they win. I think it's going to be, kind of typical Sun Belt over FCS, relatively easy victory. But it's almost got to be for Will Hall now. I mean, he did not do himself any favors making those comments. Like no. whether like the context wasn't quite clear from what he was saying and stuff, I don't know. Like he was being honest. You can't necessarily fault the guy for that, but not the kind of comments you want to make when you're already probably on the hottest seat in the league right now. Like, it's the kind of stuff that's going to hang over you if you don't start winning some games.
Southern Miss is one of those teams that has high expectations for their team. And when your coach says something like that, and they start shaking their heads and saying, that's not Southern Miss, man, right there. We expect to compete against Kentucky. And they did not compete against Kentucky. They did receive the check, however, even though it was weather shortened.
And I don't think that was what he meant by that. I don't think he meant to say that Southern Miss shouldn't be competitive. I think he meant to say, like, they got that game in when maybe they shouldn't have gotten the game in. And that's fair to say. But like I said, when you're already on the hot seat those comments are going to hang over you unless you start winning a lot of games.
That is a good point, Shane. There was some question as to whether or not the weather would somehow negate the payday. It would have been quite aggravating if they would have had to fight for that check against Kentucky after losing 31-0. But yeah, maybe that was all about. Maybe we're making too much of it. Yeah, I think Golden Eagles win this game. Now, this game here, this is the last game. It's a 7:00 game. Last game for the Sun Belt for the week. It could have been the O'Doul's Maintain Your Edge game of the week. Appalachian State Mountaineers, they're 1-0, going up against number 25, Clemson Tigers. They're 0-1 after a showing against Georgia. It's going to be on the ACC network. And here's another bloated line that I look at and kind of shake my head a little bit. 17.5 points for the Tigers. Shane, does that seem, I don't know, seem a little disrespectful?
I don't know. I'm going to talk out both sides of my mouth here.
Okay, let's hear it.
The line does not necessarily surprise me, and I think it makes some sense. On the flip side of that, I think App State wins this game. I'm not that sold on Clemson. They haven't been that good. I don't think Dabo is necessarily adjusting to the new realities of college football, whether it be the transfer portal or other things. And it's going to be, I think App State has a real shot to win this one.
Yeah, Dabo has been really outspoken about being against NIL, wanting to build a team through developmental players, not having to go through the transfer portal. And now it looks like he's kind of fallen behind. But Tibbs, is this one of these anger games for Clemson where they take it out on the hapless Mountaineers? Or do the professional Mountaineers go in there and just take care of business?
I think it's a business trip.
Oh, yeah.
As we always hear, they're going to rub the rock. They're going to steal the rock and steal the really big check. Maybe they give a little bit to Will Hall for his program as well. But
cash.
Yeah, I mean, I really like App State in this game. I think, as Shane said, Clemson's kind of a cluster right now. And sure, they're pissed. It could be a complete ass whooping for the Mountaineers, and I just don't see that happening. But I think it's another great game, but I think it's one that App State can definitely pull out.
See, it seems to me that the only team that ass whoops the Mountaineers is Western Kentucky. I don't know if anybody else can dish out the ass whooping, but yeah, I'm feeling really good about the Mountaineers. I think they get that. I think they get that upset for the Sun Belt. All right, guys. Hey, guys, I want to congratulate you. That concludes Second and Short. The gong has come up. It signifies that it is over, and we have done it. Congratulations, high fives, and chest bumps to you all.
And now for your favorite part, Shane. Plugs, promos, and parting shots.
I bet you weren't expecting that.
Tell us, Shane. Tell us all about the latest at the Daily News Record.
I've got a question for you guys.
Oh, okay.
We mentioned earlier the field goal nets at Coastal have their unique advertising. Yeah. I used to think that Allstate had bought it for the
whole NCAA. Yeah,
that's where it used to. It seemed like they all had Allstate before. But that unique one there, we're going to start seeing stuff. They haven't officially decided you can do on uniforms yet, but I think that's coming. You see some teams are like getting advertisers to put logos on their field. Tennessee has the Pilot truck stops doing it. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you get a big time sponsor for your program, whether it be on the field, on the uniforms, whatever, somebody's going to put out huge money to be either the face of ULM or Arkansas State. Who's it going to be? What are the businesses out there that are going to do it?
See, I want somebody who, like that gun range kind of stands out, right? So, because it's not like an insurance company or a food chain or like a junk food brand. It's just like it's very local and charming and sort of coastal Carolina in that sort of we're here for 2A, that kind of thing. It just kind of feels like its own brand. I would like something weird, like Bakerfield Caskets. You know, like just a manufacturer of coffins. So we could just go ahead and make like all kinds of like, yeah, the loser gets put in the coffin, or you know, I don't know, we buried him. It would be kind of fun to have that kind of not you know, we have so many banks and insurance companies and hospitals that sponsor these things. Give me Bakerfield Caskets. I'll take that any day.
If you've ever been to the greater Twin Cities area, it has a great smell to it from the paper mill. What better thing than graphic packaging? Graphic Packaging Stadium or Malone Stadium with graphic packaging field or whatever you want to call it. Because even the old timers, they're like, I don't smell nothing. It smells like money to me.
Smells like money. Well, Metlin, you made us answer these questions. Now you've got to answer it.
Well, I will say that the smells like money is what my grandfather used to say about cow manure. So I like that statement. It'd be sort of similar though. You know, in and around Harrisonburg, there's a distinct smell when it rains that I think comes from a lot of the poultry producing facilities. So I'll go with something like you know, local Purdue Foods. It's got a big presence in the Harrisonburg area. So like Purdue with their chickens and turkey and everything you can get, that would represent the area really well.
Yeah, and you know, nuggets for snacks, that would be good.
Turkey call for the first down.
Yeah. Or, yeah, chicken call.
Jeremy, what do you have for us?
You know what? I'm going to go full Shane Metlin and just plug my website, howlrazor.com. If you like Second and Short, you're going to love Sunbelt Heat. We draw a lot of our analysis for Second and Short from Sunbelt Heat. Read it today at your leisure at howlrazor.com. Check my analysis and check me on my facts. I've learned that Ohio State did not play Ohio Bobcats last week. That was the Akron Zips. So I'll have to make some edits. But, you know, the best thing about an online platform, Shane Metlin, is if you make a mistake like that, you just change it and you sort of gaslight your readers. You're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I always said Akron Zips. See, read it now. Akron Zips. What's your problem? So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be gaslighting my audience for the next couple of days.
I got nothing to follow you there, Shane. And Jeremy, what? I'm sorry.
You usually have something prepared, like some sort of written statement. And today you're saying you have nothing?
I have no manifesto, so I will definitely plug the Daily News Record. Follow it online. Read everything that Shane Metlin has to offer at the Daily News Record.
Just excellent Pulitzer Prize winning stuff.